Welcome to your deep dive. You shared this YouTube video by Simon Squibb, and he packs 30 years of business experience into it. A rapid-fire download.
Mm.
And you are looking for advice on how to start or grow your own business. So we're going to take a look at some of the key points together.
It's pretty incredible, actually, to see how he distills his experience,
Mm.
building 19 companies and investing in 78 startups into such practical advice, stuff you can use right away.
One of the first things that really caught my attention was his idea about starting a business
Yeah.
from a place of passion, even if it doesn't, fit neatly into a perceived market gap.
Yeah, it definitely goes against what everyone says, right? Find a problem and solve it. It's almost like he's suggesting that mastering what you love, just being amazing at it, that can create its own demand.
Right. He actually uses his company Fluid as an example. He launched it into a market with, get this, 500 competitors, all doing the same thing.
500. Wow. What's fascinating is that he attributes Fluid's success not to some revolutionary new idea, but to his just sheer love of marketing. That passion drove him to constantly be pushing the boundaries.
That brings to mind the saying, do what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. But Simon takes it a step further. He shows how to actually translate that passion into a thriving business.
Totally. It's a really empowering message, like for anyone who's feeling stuck in a job they hate or who's, holding back from chasing their dreams.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this. What are some things you really get lost in for hours?
Yeah.
Where does your natural curiosity lead you? What if those were the first clues to your future business?
Ooh, that's a great way to think about it. And it actually ties into Simon's next big point, which is the importance of delayed gratification. Resisting that urge for wins right away, and instead prioritizing building long-term value for your customers.
He actually cautions against rushing to monetize too early. He gives the examples of Facebook and Instagram, which, waited almost a decade before monetizing. And as soon as they shifted focus to advertisers, over users, it seems like their brand value declined.
It's interesting. It's almost like building a house. You wouldn't skip, laying a strong foundation just because you're so eager to put the roof on. A sustainable business, just like a well-built house, needs a solid foundation.
So to bring this point back to you, what are some things you feel tempted to rush? In your business, I mean. Where could you focus on developing more long-term value?
Those are all really important things to consider. You know what? Simon's next point might seem a bit counterintuitive. He's a big believer in embracing failure.
Oh, yeah. I was surprised by this at first, but the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. Failure is inevitable, right? Especially in the world of entrepreneurship.
Exactly. And Simon sees it as a vital part of learning. He even talks about losing £1 million on a comic book business. As painful as that was, at the time, he learned incredibly valuable lessons from it about risk, resilience, and how to adapt to change.
Yeah. That story reminded me of the saying, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. Sometimes you need to break things to figure out how to build them better.
And that connects to his idea that D students, they often end up being more successful than A students because they're less afraid to fail. They're more willing to experiment, take risks, and actually learn from their mistakes.
So I want to ask you, what's a time you failed? And what did you learn from it? How can you start to see failure as a stepping stone, not a roadblock?
That's a really powerful question. And it actually leads us to another interesting point that Simon makes, his approach to business planning. Now, he's not a fan of traditional, rigid business plans.
No, instead he encourages entrepreneurs to use mind mapping. It's fascinating how he finds it to be more flexible and adaptable, especially, in the fast-paced, constantly evolving environment of a startup.
It's so true. He sees traditional business plans as too linear and limiting. Mind mapping, on the other hand, allows you to visualize the interconnectedness of different aspects of your business, and really explore all sorts of possibilities.
He even walks us through his own mind map for his platform, Free Humanity, to show how he uses it to brainstorm, like revenue streams, potential partnerships, even future growth opportunities. It was really amazing to see it in action.
It really is a great way to think about it. Creating a dynamic living map, right, for your business, one that grows and changes right alongside you. It's like a constant brainstorming session.
Have you ever tried using a mind map or felt frustrated by a rigid plan that just couldn't keep up with the realities of your business?
That's a great point. And it makes me think about Simon's next point, which really resonated with me. The power of finding your purpose. He argues that businesses with a purpose that goes beyond just profit, they're much more likely to attract passionate employees and build loyal customer bases.
Oh, I love this point. He actually encourages us to ask ourselves this question: what would I do even if money were no object? I think that's such a powerful question to help us, tap into our true passions and discover our purpose.
It really cuts to the heart of what matters, doesn't it? And he emphasizes that if you're truly driven by a meaningful purpose, you'll find people who want to support your mission, people who want to help.
It's almost like purpose acts as a magnet, drawing in the right people
Yeah.
at the right time to help you create something bigger than yourself.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it. It's not just about building a business. It's about making a positive impact on the world.
Now, I want you to really think about this. What would you do if money were no object? What problem are you passionate about solving? What if that were your purpose calling?
That's something to really reflect on. And, Simon's next piece of advice is all about finding a co-founder. He actually compares it to finding a life partner.
I know, right? I chuckled when I heard him say that, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized how accurate it is. Choosing a co-founder, that's a huge decision, and it's not one to be taken lightly.
Exactly. He emphasizes finding someone who not only shares your values, but also complements your skill set. It's all about striking that balance, shared vision and individual strengths.
And he stresses how important it is to find someone with a similar moral compass. He even suggests asking potential co-founders those big, open-ended philosophical questions, just to see if your values are truly aligned.
It's like building a house together. You want to make sure you're both, using the same blueprint and working towards the same vision.
So I want to ask you, are you a solopreneur who's feeling a little overwhelmed or struggling to stay motivated? What if a co-founder was the missing piece? To bring your vision to life.
That's such an important point, having that support and accountability. It can make all the difference in the entrepreneurial journey. And, Simon's approach to sales also stood out to me. He really emphasizes authenticity, building genuine connections, and focusing on providing value above all else.
Yes. It was refreshing to hear him talk about sales without resorting to those pushy, manipulative tactics you hear about all the time. He's really advocating for a more human-centered approach.
He believes that the best salespeople are the ones who genuinely care about solving their customers' problems. It's not about closing the deal at any cost, It's about building those long-term relationships based on trust and mutual benefit.
He even shares a secret about those top 1% salespeople. They never give up. They're like masters of polite persistence, consistently following up with potential clients, sometimes for years, until they finally get a yes.
It makes you realize that success in sales isn't always about being the most charismatic or having the slickest pitch. It's about building those genuine connections and demonstrating your commitment to providing value over time.
And that reminds me of a time when, well, let's just say I learned the power of following up the hard way.
Ooh, I bet that's a story for another time. But speaking of stories, Simon also had some interesting things to say about marketing. He's a big believer in building a memorable brand, not just chasing those short-term leads.
What I loved about his approach is that he encourages you to find what makes your business unique and amplify that. He calls it staircase marketing.
Staircase marketing? I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
He means finding that one thing, whether it's a physical object, a quirky campaign, a specific brand voice, something that helps you stand out, from the crowd and capture people's attention. It's about creating a sense of intrigue and making people want to learn more.
I love that. It reminds me of how he built that giant staircase with a blimp on top. It was definitely a head turner, got people talking about his brand.
Exactly. A great example of how a little creativity and a willingness to be different can go a long way in making your brand memorable.
And it ties into his point about injecting a sense of fun, into your marketing efforts. After all, if you're not enjoying it, how can you expect your audience to?
He also had some practical advice about PR. He really emphasizes the importance of being targeted and doing your research before reaching out to journalists.
Yes. He advises against sending those generic press releases to everyone you can find. Instead, he suggests identifying journalists who cover your specific industry or area of expertise.
And not just sending them a press release, but engaging with their work. connecting with them on social media, and tailoring your pitches to their interests. It's about building relationships, just like in sales.
And of course, he also talks about the importance of personal branding. For entrepreneurs, everything you do and say online, it reflects on your brand. So think carefully about the image you're projecting and make sure it aligns with your values.
That's so true. Now let's talk about everyone's favorite topic, investors. Simon has invested in 78 companies, so he definitely knows a thing or two about navigating this world.
What I found interesting was that his first piece of advice is to carefully consider whether you actually need an investor. Bootstrapping or exploring alternative funding options, those might be a better fit for some businesses.
Right. And he encourages entrepreneurs to see potential team members as potential investors. Find people who are so passionate about your vision, that they're willing to invest their own capital.
I love that perspective. It shows a real commitment to the shared vision and creates a strong foundation for the team. It's about finding people who are truly invested in the success of the business, not just looking for a paycheck.
He also offers advice for approaching angel investors. He suggests leading with a request for help and advice, rather than just launching into a pitch and asking for money.
That makes a lot of sense. It allows the investor to feel valued and to see how they can contribute beyond just, capital. It's about building a relationship and demonstrating that you value their expertise.
And speaking of securing funding, Simon's advice on sponsorships is pure gold. He emphasizes the importance of clearly articulating the value you can offer to a potential sponsor.
Right. Sponsors need to see a clear benefit to their investment. It could be a tangible ROI, like increased brand awareness or lead generation, or it could be a more emotional connection to your brand's mission,
He actually shared how he secured sponsorships from GoDaddy and Tide Banking because their values aligned with his mission of, supporting entrepreneurs. It's a powerful example of finding that win-win partnership.
And he even suggests that simply using a brand's products or services authentically and sharing your positive experiences can sometimes open doors to sponsorship opportunities. It's a reminder that building genuine connections and showcasing shared values can go a long way.
Now let's move on to Simon's insights on building a brand, which are truly insightful. He starts by reminding us that a brand is so much more than just a logo or visual identity.
Exactly. He believes that branding is about defining your core values, your purpose, and the essence of what your business stands for. It's about creating a consistent and authentic experience that resonates with your target audience on every level.
He encourages entrepreneurs to start by defining their personal brand, as it can inform how they build their company brand. He uses Nike and Apple as examples of companies that have, successfully defined their brand essence. Nike is about athletic excellence and pushing boundaries. Apple is about creativity and innovation.
And he emphasizes the importance of staying true to your brand values, even when it means like saying no to opportunities that don't align with your mission.
I think that's such a crucial point. Sometimes the best way to build a strong brand is to be selective about, who you partner with and what projects you take on.
Now, Simon's advice on hiring, growing, and building a business, it really centers around the importance of people and purpose. He believes that a company's culture is its most valuable asset.
And to attract and retain top talent, you need a clear purpose, that resonates with your team.
He's a big advocate for giving employees equity in the business. It aligns everyone's interests and gives employees a real stake in the company's success.
He also emphasizes the importance of building systems and processes that allow people to specialize and excel in their areas of expertise.
He shared how he transformed his company, Fluid, by shifting from a culture that prioritized, just profit to one that prioritized employee well-being and client satisfaction.
And that shift in culture ultimately led to significant growth and success. It's a powerful example of how putting people first can create a ripple effect. Throughout the entire organization.
He also encourages entrepreneurs to think big and not be afraid to build a large, scalable business.
He argues that it's actually easier to run a big company than a small one. Because you have more resources and systems in place.
And he stresses the importance of constantly evolving and adapting to change.
The business world is constantly evolving. So it's crucial to stay ahead of the curve and be willing to embrace new ideas and technologies.
Now, mentorship is a topic that Simon gets asked about a lot.
And He has a slightly unconventional view on it. He believes that the real value of a mentor isn't necessarily in their experience or advice.
It's in their ability to help you ask the right questions and find the answers yourself.
He encourages entrepreneurs to be proactive in their learning and seek out answers to their questions through research, experimentation, and connecting with experts in their field.
And if you're determined to find a mentor, he suggests reframing the ask as seeking an advisor or joining an advisory board.
It's often more appealing to potential mentors, to be seen as an advisor rather than a mentor. And it allows you to clearly define the scope of the relationship.
He also emphasizes the importance of providing value to your potential mentor. Don't just expect them to give you their time and expertise for free. Offer them something in return, whether it's your skills, connections, or simply your genuine appreciation for their work.
That's such an important reminder. Mentorship is a two-way street, and it's essential to approach it with a spirit of generosity and reciprocity. Now, let's move on to another crucial topic for any entrepreneur, equity.
Simon really breaks down this complex subject in a clear and concise way. He starts by emphasizing the importance of understanding how equity works and structuring it correctly from the outset.
He debunks the myth that owning less than 50% of your company means you lose control.
Exactly. Control is determined by your shareholder agreement, not just your equity stake. That's a common misconception that can hold entrepreneurs back from making strategic decisions about equity.
He also warns against giving away too much equity too early, especially if you plan to raise multiple rounds of funding in the future.
Dilution can be a major issue, so it's crucial to plan your equity strategy carefully. And he highlights the importance of aligning your equity structure with your brand values.
That's a great point. The people who own a stake in your company, they become part of your brand story. So it's important to choose investors and partners who share your vision and values.
Absolutely. And when it comes to giving equity to employees, Simon is a big believer in making sure everyone has a stake in the company's success. He suggests using share options, earnouts, or even, straight up equity grants to incentivize and reward employees. It's about creating a culture of ownership and shared success.
Now, Simon's insights on exiting a business are particularly fascinating, especially since he's successfully sold several of his own companies.
His number one piece of advice might surprise you. He says the best way to sell your company is to not want to sell it.
I know, it sounds counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But he explains that when you are, genuinely passionate about your business and not actively seeking an exit, you are in a much stronger negotiating position.
He actually sold his most successful company, Fluid, because he wasn't actively trying to sell it. He had built a strong partnership with PricewaterhouseCoopers, who eventually approached him with an offer.
It's a great example of how focusing on building a great business can often lead to unexpected and lucrative exits.
He also encourages entrepreneurs to consider merging with a competitor or allowing their management team to buy the business.
It can be a win-win situation that allows you to exit gracefully while ensuring the business continues to thrive. And finally, he leaves us with this crucial piece of advice. Do not build a business to sell it. Build a business you love, a business with purpose, a business that solves a problem you care about. The rest will follow. It really is inspiring to hear someone speak with such passion and conviction. After decades of experience, he actually touches on a concept that might be new to some listeners, eation.
Yeah, aity. Yeah, it's a fascinating concept. He describes it as a state of flow, where everything just seems to fall into place effortlessly, and opportunities arise almost magically.
Like being in the right place at the right time. Again and again.
Exactly. And while some might, chalk it up to luck, Simon believes that aity is something you can cultivate through dedication, persistence, and a positive mindset.
So it's about actively creating those conditions.
Yeah.
For serendipity to occur.
Precisely. You hack luck by taking risks, putting yourself out there, and embracing new possibilities.
We've covered so much ground in this deep dive into Simon Squibb's, 30 years of business wisdom. From discovering your passion to building a resilient brand, securing funding, and even, navigating a successful exit. He's given us a lot to think about.
It really is a lot to unpack. What stands out to you the most? What will you take away from this conversation?
For me, It's that powerful message.
Yeah.
To build a business you love, a business that's fueled by purpose. The rest, as Simon says, will follow.
It's about not chasing money, but chasing purpose.
Yeah.
Not fearing failure, but embracing it as a teacher, and not being afraid to forge your own path, to success.
So what's your next step? What action will you take today to bring you closer to that dream business? Leave a comment. Let us know. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Remember, you have everything you need to succeed.